This is Right to Life Radio. And now, here's your host, John Gerardi.
At Right to Life, we directly work to assist those in need, assist women who are pregnant and who are considering abortion, to offer them alternatives. And we try to do this in the most peaceful and loving and best way we possibly can. And the person who spearheads all of that for us is Right to Life's own Linda Teliha, who joins us this morning for our first Saturday of the month, Stories from the Sidewalk. So welcome, Linda, again to Right to Life Radio.
Thank you.
All right.
I always appreciate the time to talk about good things happening at Right to Life.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get started. I think one of the neat things we've been able to do is not to have, look, we are out there in front of Planned Parenthood. So for those who don't know, Right to Life of Central California, we rent a building that's next door to the Planned Parenthood clinic that's located on Fulton Street in Fresno, just kind of south of the Tower District and just south of Olive. And we are there on the sidewalk to talk to women and couples as they're going in and out, to offer them alternatives to abortion. We disagree fundamentally with what Planned Parenthood does. We disagree fundamentally with the things they do. We think fundamentally their commitment to providing abortion is something that is deeply evil. But I think we have realized that you don't win people over or change people's minds very much through condemnation, and you try to build bridges as best you can through kindness and openness. So, Linda, you were wanting to share about sort of having an open relationship, or not an open relationship, geez Louise. No, not that. Having a positive relationship.
Did you want to talk to my husband about that?
No. It's live radio, folks. Having a positive relationship with the Planned Parenthood director and being able to talk with this person and have sort of a cordial interaction. So why don't you talk? Why don't you talk about that?
I don't have an open relationship with the director of Planned Parenthood.
That's I'm very glad to hear that for your husband's sake. All right. So before I talk anymore, why don't you talk about what you did? So
well, an interesting thing happened. It was a pretty normal thing at first. I ended up talking to someone who was coming out of Planned Parenthood who was visibly upset. Mm-hmm. And I just said, I didn't even say, do you want a flower? Which is what I normally say. I just said, hey, what's going on? Do you need to talk? And she was like, yes. Yeah. And I'm like, are you pregnant? She said, yes. And I said, how about we go over to our outreach building right next door and we'll talk about what's going on. And so we went over there and we started talking about everything. And one of the things I noticed was that she had an ultrasound with her. Mm-hmm. And so I don't really get a chance to find out what really goes on inside of Planned Parenthood. We hear all their stories just like they hear all our stories. And I really kind of want to know. Yeah, well, what was your experience?
Yeah, and I think there is a risk sometimes from pro-lifers, given that how strongly we morally oppose what Planned Parenthood does, to kind of, we want to run with the story about the Planned Parenthood that has terrible conditions and blah, blah. And I'm not saying those stories are illegitimate or not true or in various cases, but yeah, I mean, I am
probably
like you,
some illegitimate births, but this story, we don't know.
Yeah. But I am interested to hear sort of what's actually going on. Okay. So anyway, go for it.
So I saw the ultrasound and I said, so they actually did an ultrasound, and tell me how it went in there. How was the person you were with? And she said, well, that person was actually very nice. When I started crying, she said to me, you look like you're upset, and it looks like you're not really ready to do this. So if you're not ready to do this, don't do it now so you don't have any regrets. Mm-hmm. Well, that's...
hey, I mean...
Yeah.
It's about as good a thing as you could possibly hear from a Planned
Parenthood person. Well, and it's not what we normally think is happening in there. It's not what we talk about. And, so it kind of threw me off a little, because when I'm standing out there and I know what's going on in there, I want to think, oh, no, all the people in there are bad. I know they're not. And they do wave and all of that, but it's easier for me to be able to do my job thinking that they're opposing me.
Yeah. Well, it is a thing, I think.
Or us, or.
Yeah. Well, it is a thing, I think, to think of, like, there's a decent number of people, I think, who work for Planned Parenthood who think they're helping people and believe that. And really believe that deep down.
Mm-hmm.
I think, though, the closer you get to the actual abortion procedure itself, which is kind of unescapably violent and unescapably ending what is very obviously a living, moving
how
human
do you
being,
not know?
that I think there's the tug of, St. Paul talks about the law that's written on the human heart. I think there's a tug of war between that but also thinking, I'm helping a person who's not ready for a baby. I'm helping this person have autonomy, and you that's how you rationalize it. And I think all of us who have rationalized questionable decisions in our past have been there, and there, but for the grace of God go I. So I agree.
So,
and I'm sure it's probably different from person to person to person and clinic to clinic to clinic.
Oh, like anything, but I'm only concerned with the one that's right in front of me. What am I working with or against, or So so she told me that, and I thought, like, right after that, I'm gonna go in and talk to the director, and I'm gonna compliment him. And then I kind of thought about it, and I thought, I don't need to take a risk of walking in there. Yeah. So I just left it, because I have gone in there and talked to him about different things, and he's been, very nice and very respectful. And he says the same of me. Yes, you're always respectful. There are groups that aren't, so we appreciate that you are. And we know there are groups that aren't, so we're in agreement there for sure. Sure, because it doesn't help either side. Yeah. But anyway, so the next day, I actually saw him coming back from lunch, and I just said, "Hey, do you have a minute? Yeah, because I want to give you a compliment." And so he's like, "Yeah, sure." And I said, "Well, can I cross the line?" Because I didn't want.
Well, because we don't want to trespass on their property. Yeah,
I don't want to do anything illegal and get arrested, because I was going to tell them what a great job they're doing. So I just, he said, "Yeah, come over here." And so I just said, "Hey, you know what? I really want to give you a compliment, because I think we all have these ideas of what you're doing, what I'm doing, all of these things, and." This is what I heard, and I appreciate that you are training your people to be considerate of obvious feelings. And I might have had a little bit of an ulterior motive, because I think it's good to know who you're working with, and also to get some questions answered. So I just said, just so you know, when that's going on and they aren't quite sure, know that we are offering everything we can even imagine to help. We're now we'll provide maternity clothes, we'll do baby showers, we'll offer resources that are available. We even just recently found a home that will take, pregnant moms in. And every time someone says, well, are you going to do this? I kind of make it my goal to think of how I'm going to address that. What's a good answer for that? Yeah, that's like my challenge. So I said, I just want you to know that, so that you can know kind of in your heart that I am doing the opposite of what a lot of pro-choice, pro-abortion people are saying. Oh, okay, well, you just saved the baby, but then what do you do after that? Are you going to take care of the mom? Are you going to take care of the baby? Are you going to blah, blah, blah? Well, we're really trying to. Yeah. And I really wanted him to know, like, I wanted that on his heart, on his conscience. Yeah. And so.
Well, and that's been the funny thing. I mean, as it relates to medical care, we've gotten at the Obria Clinic, not a lot, but a few referrals from Planned Parenthood to our pro-life Obria Clinic, because our clinic's like one of the few that's willing to take, certain kinds of, like, managed Medi-Cal patients for STD and STI testing. Okay. And apparently Planned Parenthood's sort of limiting or restricting the number of STD, STI testing, because it's I don't know exactly why. My suspicion is because they lose money on it. But yeah,
Or maybe they have too many and they need to
or maybe
farm some out.
I don't exactly know. I think it was because they weren't doing some anyway.
Well,
but that's
it also. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, continue.
But to continue on, that kind of opened the door of some other questions that I wanted to ask, because he went from there and started talking about, well, yeah, we also try to offer all of these services, and he started naming them off in his education efforts and stuff like that. And I just to go back to what you're saying, he honestly feels like he is doing the best he can to help these women and girls. And so then the next thing I wanted to know, he says, yeah, well, we do medically necessary abortions. Mm-hmm. Well, we all know this is like a controversial phrase
right now. Yeah.
What is this?
And what? Yeah. And his.
So
anyway. Yeah.
So he went on to say, so I said, oh, this is an open door for me. And I said, so what do you consider a medically necessary abortion?
Yeah.
And so he did start talking about what he thought was a medically necessary abortion. I don't believe that was what he was talking about. The specific incidence was a medically necessary abortion.
Yeah.
So that's muddy waters completely for both sides, sure. I think. But this, for sure, I would have loved to have an opportunity to talk to the parents of this baby that was basically given like a, it's not going to live very long or whatever sentence.
Well, yeah. And so, that's the thing, is that the definition of what's a medically necessary abortion is like well, for one thing, under California law, every abortion is deemed medically necessary. There's no such thing as an elective abortion under California law. So that's a bit of a fiction that that's a bit of a fiction that I don't know if he was trying to manipulate.
So all of them are.
Well, why did Planned Parenthood not shut down during COVID at any point? All these other healthcare providers temporarily, they stopped doing elective surgeries. They delayed doing elective surgeries. All this different stuff got delayed, pushed back. Planned Parenthood never closed for a day. Why? Because California has basically redefined its law to say there's no such thing as an elective abortion.
Okay. So I thought it also had to do with that they were dispersing vaccines.
Chiefly, it had to do with
that
they redefined California law to say basically no abortion is not medically necessary.
I think he wanted to make sure, like, listen to me, that's an in-between moral and ethical, I guess, kind of thing. And
I think it's a thing of like, he's probably trying to cite like a case where a child has a congenital disorder where the child's not going to live very long after birth, which is
I think it was trisomy 18. And
yeah.
There's all kinds of levels.
Which is in the news a lot, but is also, he's highlighting that, but that's like, and I'm not, I'm saying this, I think, more literally rather than exaggerate. That's like maybe 1% of all abortions are for situations like that. The overwhelming majority of abortions are.
And why are they going to Planned Parenthood for that?
For a trisomy 18 kind of abortion. Yeah.
So he kept going and was talking about the specific case was from, way out in Kern County, and they drove that far, and then they drove up, and I'm going to guess the Friday guys were out there, and they were just condemning them, and it made it even harder. And that is a shame, too.
Sure.
But how might things have gone had I had an opportunity to sit down and say, what about this whole picture, this perspective? Because I have had several friends who have had babies that were going to be born with congenital defects.
Or to introduce them, which we tried to do, working with Jim Patterson through the state legislature, to let them know about the Angel Babies, perinatal hospice program through Heinz Hospice, which we tried to do through the state legislature and got absolutely crushed before they could even have a committee hearing on it. We were going to introduce a bill that basically parents who get a diagnosis like that would receive a notice letting them know these are options for perinatal hospice near you. And the Democrats in the state health committee just completely squashed it. All right, we're going to return after the break, and we'll discuss this a little bit more. Stories from the Sidewalk with Linda Teliha here on Right to Life Radio. Back with Right to Life Radio, Stories from the Sidewalk with Linda Teliha. Linda works with us at Right to Life outside of the Planned Parenthood building located on Fulton Street in Fresno, talking directly with women and couples going in and out and considering abortion. We're discussing your recent interaction with actually the director over there. It was a pleasant conversation. And he was sort of talking about, I think it's very interesting, you were describing how he was talking about how, we do medically necessary abortions like parents of children with like trisomy 18. And that's a big national story right now. There's a woman in Texas named Kate Cox who it was very controversial that she wasn't allowed to get an abortion for her baby who was diagnosed for that in Texas. And now she's actually going to be Joe Biden and Jill Biden's guest at the State of the Union. Meaning that abortion is going to be, Jonathan and I talked about this last week, I think abortion is going to be front and center.
Again.
The main issue of the 2024 election. Yeah. So anyway, but we went to the break before you could talk a little bit about the trisomy 18 issue and parents who receive a congenital, a fatal congenital diagnosis for their babies. And sort of how you wish you had been able to intervene for some parents in that situation.
I just, one of the reasons why I keep going and doing what I do is because I really feel like when any of us are in a crisis, sometimes we just want to be done with a crisis.
Yeah.
So we want to make a decision, and we're just like, okay, if I make this decision, I'll be done, and the crisis will be over, and I'll go on with my regular life. And I take the opportunity when I'm talking to these people to kind of help them map out their own journey of what it's going to look like after in either direction.
Yeah.
And I think that who knows what these parents would have decided, but I wonder if they had an opportunity to just sit with someone who would talk about being able to love their baby until the very end.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound like these people had a pregnancy that was unwanted. It turned out that they had
a baby with trisomy 18.
Yes, and they felt like they couldn't handle. Who knows? There's all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
But I do know from actual experience, I've had friends who've had a baby born with that. And they were just happy to be able to love their child along his life.
Well, and
because that's what we are instinctually made to do that.
Well, everything about the whole conversation around babies with with fatal congenital diagnoses. The problem is for so many of those parents, the only thing they hear about as the answer is abortion. They're not told about the concept of perinatal hospice. And we're basically fundamentally telling these parents something that's, I would say, unnatural, which is just end the pregnancy.
Right.
As opposed to, I think perinatal hospice is just an incredibly natural process of, we know death is an evil. We know trisomy 18 is not the norm. This is not what childbirth is necessarily supposed to be.
No.
But to let the baby come into the world, to provide that baby with nothing but love, and recognizing that nature is going to take its course, is something very different that I think passively allowing death to take its course as opposed to actively causing the death is a real distinction that is really meaningful. And I think too many people in medicine refuse to acknowledge that there's anything different between those two outcomes.
I also don't think that there is much. I don't think that anyone addresses what is going to happen to the woman hormonally.
Yeah.
By ending a pregnancy early.
Artificially, prematurely. Early.
Right.
Yeah.
Because even if you talk to a woman who's had a miscarriage, you go through stages of not only grief, but your body changes, and it has to readjust to what is supposed to happen but doesn't happen, and for different reasons. And those are even naturally occurring situations. Yeah. So you have an artificial, as you said, situation. That woman's going to go through some hard stuff, hormonally, emotionally, physically.
Yeah, and I think
spiritually, I'm assuming.
Sure.
Yeah. So
well, and I think it's difficult because one of the things I think pro-lifers are struggling with is, well, one is the framing. To have people say, I'm pro-choice because of the Kate Cox situation. I'm pro-choice because of a woman with a baby with trisomy 18. The fact that that's getting framed as the norm in the abortion discussion is wrong. Those cases are 1%, if literally less than 1% of all abortions. 99% of the time, we're not talking about a situation like that. But even in those cases, I think have this fundamental problem of not acknowledging that there is some duty of care to the kid, and that the burden, it's not an alleged burden, it's genuine burden on the woman's body to have to carry this child onward is deemed to be like something completely unacceptable. When what we're trying to say is, no, this is for the good for everybody. Yeah, and it's a difficult argument to make, but I think
just if they would have maybe had a chance to walk through it and then make their decision, and maybe somebody did talk to them, but I think any woman would be hard pressed to choose the death of their child. If it was put in that perspective.
Yeah.
This is your child that was lovingly made. This is your child that you dreamed about since you were a little girl. This is your child that you're going to mother.
Yeah. Yeah. And to have at least some opportunity to love that child, to give that child the honor that he or she is due is a beautiful thing. So, all right. Well, Linda, thank you so much for joining us. And we will be back with more on Right to Life Radio right after this. Back with Right to Life Radio, and we are joined in studio by our good buddy, Mr. Jonathan Keller. How's it going, Jonathan?
Hello. Great to be here. Always great to be on the same show as Linda.
There you go. And we've got coming up this Thursday, February 8th, our big event at New Hope Community Church. It will be at 6 p.m. at New Hope. We will be hosting Tony McFadden, who will be speaking for us. A great youth event. Bring your kid. Come yourself, relationships and redemption. We're going to have food trucks there. We'll have Colorado Grill, street tacos, and we'll have coffee and boba. What more?
That sounds.
What more could
What time of day is this again?
the minute food is brought in, Jonathan is in.
I was paying attention, but
now we have your attention. First you had my interest, now you have my attention, as Leo DiCaprio said in Django. February 8th at 6 p.m. at New Hope Community Church at Knees and Clovis. Is that correct? Colton, producer Colton nods. That is his church. So come on out. And go to rtlcc.org to register. That just kind of helps us give us a rough head count. rtlcc.org. Go there to register for this wonderful pro-life event. All right. Mr. Jonathan.
Yes, sir.
The big news this week on the pro-life front, we have some local stuff kind of starting to develop that maybe we will talk about in the last segment. Possibility of another attempt from an abortion provider to open up a clinic in Visalia, and we're trying to alert people to this and bring attention to this issue, and just to the broader issue of abortion providers trying to open up in the South Valley. But on the national front, the Supreme Court has given its oral argument hearing date. I believe it's March 26th.
I think that sounds about right.
That's true. And that is, I think, during Holy Week for Alliance of Hippocratic Medicine versus the FDA. And we've talked about this case before. This is a case looking at the abortion pill and the legality of the FDA's approval and subsequent deregulations that happened in 2016 and 2021 under Presidents Obama and Biden, respectively, of the abortion pill. This is a major abortion case. It seems that we're not going to stop having major significant abortion decisions coming before the Supreme Court.
Which is kind of hilarious because you got the sense. I remember some people back in 2022, John, right after Dobbs, that were conservatives, but not necessarily pro-lifers, that were like, well at least the Supreme Court. No, they were tired of talking about abortion. So they're like, at least the Supreme Court has settled this and we won't have to have any more of these cases at the Supreme Court anymore.
Nope.
They've punted abortion and it will no longer be an issue for SCOTUS to decide.
Yeah, no, abortion is going to continue to be an issue. In fact, I would wager in some ways it's going to be more of an issue because you're going to have, how do you navigate one state having legal abortion, another state has illegal abortion? How are you going to navigate between federal policy being favorable to abortion, state policy being unfavorable to abortion? There's also a discussion about whether or not these federal regulations about kinds of care that have to be given for emergency room situations, whether that can include abortions or not. So I think we're going to have more. Actually, we may actually have more Supreme Court decisions dealing with the abortion issue post-Dobbs than we did pre-Dobbs, and or at the very least, I think it's not going to be less. I think that much is clear.
Yeah, it's now going to be, ironically, before I think a lot of legislatures were very reticent to pass anything, and regulators
because they knew the court was just going to strike it down.
But now everybody is kind of like feeling out, okay, so what does this mean? Like how do all these other, now that Roe is gone, how do all these other parts of constitutional law fit in?
Yeah, I think 2022 to 2032 is going to be an interesting time of kind of testing the limits of all this. So the Supreme Court's going to hear this case, Alliance of Hippocratic Medicine versus FDA. And what is the case? Alliance of Hippocratic Medicine is a group of doctors from a group of pro-life doctors. They are suing in Texas. They're saying that the legalization of the abortion pill, the FDA approval of the abortion pill, in various ways puts burdens on doctors, and therefore they have standing to sue about it. And basically they're arguing that the FDA should never have approved the abortion pill to begin with, and that the various subsequent deregulations of the abortion pill under President Obama in 2016 and President Biden in 2021 and 2022, that those were illegitimate, that especially the first FDA approval on which the two subsequent reforms were based, that the first FDA approval was unlawfully done.
Right.
So just to go back in time for history for all of you, how did the abortion, and first let's just establish the relevance of this. Over half of all abortions are done via the abortion pill. Okay? Over half of all abortions in the United States, about 55% of abortions in the United States are done via the abortion pill. This is not the morning after pill.
Right.
This is a drug that you take up to 10 weeks into a pregnancy to induce a miscarriage, to basically artificially bring about a miscarriage.
Correct.
More or less. You're basically taking a drug to alter the lining of the uterus so that the baby detaches from the uterine wall, baby's cut off from food supply, baby dies, you take a second pill to expel the baby.
Right.
So,
and to clarify, John, I want to point out one thing.
So not the morning after pill.
Right.
Which is not the morning after pill.
But what you mentioned you take the second pill. There's something that's really key about this that I've heard from people. One line that the abortion industry has been trying to proffer is, oh my gosh, I can't believe that these horrible anti-choice extremists, they want to ban miscarriage care.
Right.
They want to ban this drug that we need that is going to help women that are suffering from miscarriage.
Right.
So I want to clarify. You mentioned there's two drugs.
Yes. There's mifepristone is the first drug, which is the abortion pill proper.
Right.
And then the second drug is misoprostol.
Right. And I want to just tell you, before you turn off the radio, we need to listen carefully. My wife has been administered misoprostol.
Right.
But before you go,
which is a legitimate drug.
It is.
To help out in various situations of trying to help someone deliver a baby.
So in 2017, my son Hudson was displaying my penchant for showing up late to things. And he was already, I think, 8 days past his due date. And the doctor said, all right, we got to get this show on the road.
Yeah.
So they went in and they first said, all right, we're going to give your wife this drug called Cytotec.
Yeah.
And they tried that. 24 hours later, nothing was
Did not
happening.
work.
So Tuesday morning, we'd already been in the hospital at this point for more than 24 hours, and they said, all right, we're going to start your wife on misoprostol.
Right.
And me being a good pro-lifer, but
like,
first-time
what?
dad, I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they said, no. Misoprostol is designed, as you said, John, to make the uterus contract. It's designed to essentially induce labor.
Right.
And
that is not going to be touched.
This has
by
nothing to do with the
this
court
decision.
case.
Right. What this has to do with is the abortion pill itself, mifepristone, which cuts the baby off from the baby's food supply.
And that is literally
that's the thing that
only-
actually kills the baby.
It's the only purpose of it, which
Right.
means that if you're talking about a child who tragically has passed away in utero,
Yeah.
you have a dead baby, tragically,
Yes.
a fetus that has expired
Yeah.
in utero. Mifepristone will do nothing to help expel that baby from the uterus and prevent the mother from becoming septic.
Right.
No pro-lifer,
Misoprostol. Yeah.
no pro-lifer in the world opposes miscarriage treatment or care.
Yeah. No pro-lifer opposes having a baby's body be removed from a woman's uterus, whether through misoprostol or however.
Right.
So
I just want to
Thank
get
you.
that.
I think
I want to get that off my chest.
No, that's an important and that's an important clarification because this has been part of this argument throughout that limitations on abortion are inhibiting miscarriage care, and it's been untrue. It has been false the entire time that this has been argued since Dobbs. Now, not only is it 55% of all abortions in America are done through the abortion pill nowadays, I actually came across stats from Planned Parenthood Marmonti.
Our local affiliate.
I think this was its 2022 annual report. Now, Planned Parenthood is sort of broken up into basically various regional affiliates of Planned Parenthood. They're an individual nonprofit that has several locations, clinic locations, who are all part of the Planned Parenthood family
National
or network or whatever. So Planned Parenthood Marmonti is the entity that has all of the Planned Parenthood clinics in Central California, San Jose, other parts of Northern California, and Reno. So it's a very big affiliate. They have a lot of clinics. It's a big percentage of a high population area of California. 75% of the abortions they do are done via the abortion pill. Not 55, which is like the national average, 75%. And I think this is a major issue in California. They need the abortion pill to be legal and readily available because I have surmised this. I don't have this concretely, but I've surmised this through a number of, I'm going to save this for the next segment. Anyway. Why is Planned Parenthood so dependent on the abortion pill in Northern California and in California in general? We'll save that for the next segment. But just to put a pin on this, the Supreme Court has taken this case to decide, was the FDA wrong to approve the abortion pill? The argument basically being when the FDA approved this, they did it through an expedited process. The expedited process is only for drugs that treat serious illnesses. That's what the law says.
Right.
And the argument is the abortion pill doesn't treat serious illnesses. It ends a pregnancy, which is not an illness. That's the point of it. So the court will have to wrestle with, is going to have to decide this issue. Now, the very fact that they took it, it might be an indication of how the court is leaning here. That often is true. You only need 4 of the 9 justices to agree in order for them to take a case. But you might not want to take a case if you think the outcome is going to be the wrong thing. So I think this could be big. I think it could be significant. What are the possible outcomes? One is completely taking the abortion pill off the market. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if the challengers filed the lawsuit in time. They might be basically blocked by statute of limitations from challenging the original approval of the abortion pill, which was in the year 2000. Could they, though, block Barack Obama and Joe Biden's various deregulations of the abortion pill? That, I think, could happen. Obama and Biden made it way easier to access the abortion pill. Before, you had to have 3 doctor's visits. It could only be during the first 7 weeks of pregnancy. You had to go into the clinic to do it. After Biden and Obama, you could get it for the first 10 weeks of pregnancy. You didn't even have to make a doctor's visit. You could do it purely through telemedicine. You could have the abortion pill shipped in the mail to you or sent to a major pharmacy. If those regulations are struck down, it will hugely limit the abortion pill. When we return, why that's going to be really significant in California and why I think Planned Parenthood just doesn't have enough doctors to do abortions. That's next on Right to Life Radio. Back with Right to Life Radio, we're talking about the Supreme Court announcing it's going to hear on March 26th the case involving the legality, the FDA approval of the abortion pill. And if the case goes one way or another, it could severely limit the availability of the abortion pill, which again is not the morning after pill. Morning after pill is most often a genuinely contraceptive drug to prevent ovulation the morning after a sexual encounter. The abortion pill ends a pregnancy, ends a life up to 10 weeks into a pregnancy. And as I mentioned, is now the most common way of performing abortions in America. About 55% of abortions in America are done via the abortion pill. And as I was mentioning in the last segment, I was looking up some stuff about Planned Parenthood Marmonte, which is the regional Planned Parenthood affiliate that has all the Planned Parenthood clinics in the San Jose area, Fresno area, a lot of other places in north central California, and Reno. And so it's a very big Planned Parenthood affiliate. They did thousands and thousands of abortions. They do thousands and thousands of abortions every single year, something like 25,000 abortions in 1 year. And they noted, I was looking at their 2022 annual report. They noted that fully 75% of the abortions they did that year were via the abortion pill, not through surgical abortions. So I'm connecting the dots, as I do.
As one does.
As one does. When there are dots presented, one should connect them. California has passed laws giving student loan breaks and scholarships and stuff to medical school students, nursing students, etc., who agree to do abortions in underserved, air quotes, parts of the state. The state of California has passed laws letting nurse practitioners do surgical abortions. They just passed a law last year letting physician's assistants do surgical abortions. They're letting nurse practitioners practice on their own without doctor supervision, including potentially to do abortions. Nurse practitioner can start up a clinic. She can put up a shingle with her name on it. I don't think there are enough abortion providers in California for zero would be the appropriate amount.
Right.
So
They don't think there
are not enough to do all the to do all these abortions as surgical abortions. I think Planned Parenthood is so desperate in California to have the abortion pill and to have the abortion pill broadly legal and broadly available because they don't really make that much less money off of it. It's a lower reimbursement in certain circumstances than surgical, but you don't have to pay a doctor.
And you can ship it through the mail to the other states.
That's the other big thing. So I think this abortion pill case is it's critically important for everyone in the country, but I think it's perhaps most important here because if they limit the abortion pill and say, nope, you can only use the abortion pill for the first 7 weeks of pregnancy and you have to go in clinic to get it and you have to have 3 doctor's appointments before you can get it and you can't get it at a major pharmacy and it can't be shipped through the mail to you, that's going to hugely limit the ability of abortion providers in California to make money because clearly they don't have enough people to do abortions. That'll do it for Right to Life Radio. Tony McFadden, Thursday, February 8th, 6 p.m. Go to rtlcc.org for more information. We'll see you next time on Power Talk.